All right, guys, for your Friday's WOD, it is called Sucker Punch, where you're going to be doing kettlebell swings and thrusters, and then after that, your skill strength is going to be going for a heavy sumo deadlift, which we have on the PR board, so hopefully we'll be finding a really good 1-rep max for that today. With your warm-up in the WOD coming before that, hopefully we're nice and warm to get that PR number for today. Couple of things that I want to review in the warm-up, starting with glute bridges. So when you guys get to the glute bridges, remember we're down on the ground, palms are facing down, and we're squeezing everything nice and tight up to the ceiling. And then when you get to the single leg glute bridge, now we're just taking a leg and kicking it out and doing that same thing. If that's tough for you, I could put a heel down on the ground or just continue to do both legs down for my single leg glute bridges as well. Then we're gonna warm up in child's pose, so a nice stretch. Try to get your butt back to your heels and you're just leaning back. Try to get your chest down to the ground. Nice stretch for your lower back there, followed by groiners. So a really big hip opener stretch. I can use my elbow to open up the inside of my leg and then switch and do my other leg as well. And then we're gonna jump right to the barbell in getting ready for the thrusters in our WOD and also the sumo deadlift. So with the barbell on our back, we're gonna go through and we're gonna do some good morning. So nice flat back, feel that hamstring stretch and stand, followed by some back squats. And then we're gonna go into a strict shoulder press. So from here, I can do a strict press. I can also bring that back in front, but just strict press overhead, followed by Romanian deadlifts. So I'm gonna take my butt back, lean my shoulders forward. Don't go quite as deep as you would a deadlift and just stand. So Romanian deadlifts into front squats. We'll bring that back to our front rack position and do some front squats from here. And then we're gonna get into some overhead pausing to get prepped for those thrusters. So we're gonna go into a pausing strict press. So where we will press overhead and give a 3 count. So a 1, 2, 3, and bring that back down. Make sure when we're pressing overhead, we're punching the sky and our wrists aren't giving at the top, and it should be right over the midline of our head. So we're splitting overhead. Then we're gonna go into pausing thrusters. So we're gonna put that squat with the press together. So it's a squat and a thrust, and we're gonna hold overhead for a 3, 2, 1 count overhead. So make sure we're timing just like in our thrusters with our hips opening. As they pop, I'm popping overhead as well. Versus I don't want to stand out of a squat and then make it a strict press. So try to use that energy and momentum as we're coming out of that squat. Then we're going to grab a kettlebell. So maybe a medium kettlebell to warm up for our kettlebell weight, which is our normal men's and women's RX weight, 53-35. And we're going to practice some kettlebell deadlifts. So from here, I'm going to have my hip width stance maybe a little bit wider, and I'm going to have a nice flat back, and I'm going to go down and gently tap the ground and stand for some kettlebell deadlifts, followed by Russian swings. So I'm staying back in my heels, and the kettlebell is just coming up to eye level, followed by full swings, if we can, directly overhead. So that finish position, my arms should be covering my ears, and that kettlebell should be directly overhead as well. Thruster weight for today, 75 for men, 55 for women. It'll be a really breathy WOD with the kettlebells going super fast and going down into those thrusters. So scale appropriately for that one. It's gonna feel like a sucker punch. Then your sumo deadlifts, once you're recovered from that, into our deadlift position for today. So sumo deadlifts is going to have that wider stance, just like a sumo deadlift high pull. So I'm gonna go slightly outside of my hip width here, and I can point my toes out slightly, so I don't need to be completely like duck-footed. So wide stance, toes slightly pointing out, and as I go down, are my hands together in a sumo deadlift? And my hands are together close in a sumo deadlift as well. So theoretically, you should be lifting heavier on these, because now I'm taking away some distance that I would be traveling in my deadlift by widening my stance, and I've got my hands close together. So make your thumbs touch, and then that's where you're gonna grip down, going down for your sumo deadlift. My butt is going down. I'm still have my shins nice and vertical, and I'm standing sets of 3, sets of 2, and then 3 attempts at a heavy single. So from this view, sumo deadlift, down to my mid shin, knees come slightly back, and I'm opening